What the hell is he doing in here?
I have a gun. If you hurt me, I'm gonna use it.
What the fuck is going on?
All right, let's get down to business. So I just watched a movie with my boyfriend. It's a movie that I knew about, that I reference sometimes because I know a little bit about it because I heard someone talk about it a long time ago. It's one of the most disgusting movies I've seen in a while, but the ending made everything worth it to me. It's called Vampire's Kiss. If you've ever heard me say that or reference that, here we go. This is going to be a quick bit about Nicolas Cage's Vampire's Kiss. So, the lore of Nicolas Cage goes, this dude had somebody working for him, whether it was his whoever or whatever, I really don't know who it was, in his life. Supposedly, they stole all of his money he made when he made good movies. And since then, he has been taking any and every role. And people think that it's like the Daniel Radcliffe syndrome, where he's just doing what he wants, and what he wants to do is any and every movie. But I don't believe that's it. I do believe that it's because he needs to recuperate his money. That's just what I think about the situation. Please let me know if you know any or have any evidence contrary to that conclusion. But he's had over 100 credits. That's a lot. And yeah, maybe somebody else has that many credits. I'm not sure. Please let me know in the comments if you have the correct statistics on that. But let's get down to what we need to get down to. Vampire's Kiss is about this dude. I did not really intake everybody's name at all, legitimately, because it's such a bad movie. It's like The Room type bad, except better than that, because everything's better than The Room. So there's this guy, I'm gonna call him Nicolas Cage, this character, who is unhinged from the very beginning. He is at a bar place where people are doing drugs and hanging out and drinking, and it's just like, basically it's like more than a brothel but less than a club. It just looks like it's like way back when they were making movies, like in the 80s, 70s and stuff, they would just, like, any place that was a club, they would just be like big old warehouse. Like, it's as big as a warehouse. I don't understand. And yeah, you could be like, oh, clubs are that big and all that. It's like, okay, I'm not a person who'd be going to the club every day, so please let me know. But literally looked like a warehouse with a bar in it. And he picks this woman up and he goes to the house, and as they're about to have sex, she's got nipples out. It's like that, like back in the day, they used to just like do stuff like that in movies. Like they were just like, we don't care. And yeah, you could be like, oh, some movies do that now. No, like movies now are so tame. It's more like what is said than what is shown. It's really legit like that. Like I really want to make movies because I just like feel like it's turning to crap. But as they're about to have sex, there's a bat that comes into the apartment. It looks like an apartment. It looks like an apartment duplex. She runs out and they're drunk and high. So she runs out. And if you watch it again, I'm not going to watch it again. But like if you watch this video and then go watch it, it's on actual Tubi. It leaves I think it's like 7 or 6 days from when I'm recording this. So you better get to it before it goes off. And you got to find it somewhere else. But it just shows the window a lot of time. Like there's like 3 times it shows the window. And what I caught was like it was closed. So the bat probably wasn't even real. And she was just reacting to how he was reacting to something in the room, even though she's the first one to talk about it, I think. And it's like, we cannot take what this guy is seeing. This is from his perspective. This movie is from his perspective mostly. Nicolas Cage's character is unhinged from the very beginning. He is an unreliable narrator. So he takes this woman back to his house, supposedly. And you'll understand why I say supposedly. And they see a bat come through the window that is seen as closed like twice, but it's open somehow. The bat comes in. Everybody's scared. They run off. I don't know where he goes because it just seems like there's a lot of parts in this movie where things are cut out. It just makes no sense. And like I said, I watched this movie once, so I'm going to just remember it how I remember the first time we watching it. And I'm not going to watch it again because it's not that good enough for me to watch it again. But basically, he cuts himself while he's shaving, and then he puts a bandage over it, and then he just believes in his mind that he's a vampire. Like, he's playing 3 different characters. So there's one character who is gross. They're all gross, by the way. But this one is gross in the sense that he's a jerk. And there's one that is a sympathetic character that seems to feel remorse for what he does, even though he does it anyway. And the third part of him, or the third aspect that he portrays within this character, is the character that actually has common sense and he's actually normal. He's the character that is most often seen by more than one person. Alva sees the crazy maniac. Everyone sees the crazy maniac at some point, but like he puts his best foot forward. Like when someone's like, oh, what happened to your neck? Oh, I shaved myself and I cut myself by accident. That's the plausible person that's coming out. The two unhinged parts of him, the one that sees the vampire, the one that stays around the vampire, and the one that is very sympathetic, do not see reality. It's just like id, ego, super ego, the Sigmund Freud perspective of life. It's literally like 3 different, and I'm looking too deep into a bad movie, okay? I'm just not gonna ramble on about that. So he goes to work, he works at this place, and he like harasses his secretary, Alva, and that's gonna be the extent of me trying to remember everybody's name. The only people who deserve their names to be remembered are Alva and her brother, but I don't remember his name, but I remember Alva. So Alva was hired to make everyone's job in there easier or whatever. And she's got tons of jobs to do. And she's also Hispanic, by the way. And this matters because he treats her like garbage. And it's horrible. And nobody helps her. Literally, as Nicolas Cage's character progresses through the movie, he becomes more irate and gross. And he keeps asking Alva to find a script for something. And they say it so many times, I don't even remember it. Because again, like I said, this is a bad movie. I didn't retain barely much of anything from this movie. It's really bad, but it's just, I like watching Nicolas Cage because he's like a really funny actor to watch in anything. He ate a cockroach. He ate a bird off the street. He literally bites into a woman's neck at the end of the movie. Also, like, eventually harasses his secretary so much. She wants to get a gun. She has a real gun, but she doesn't have any bullets for it. And when he chases her around the office, literally, she is terrified. And she said she had a gun and she was going to use it. And it's kind of like a whole thing. Like, you never talk about a gun unless you're going to see it go off. That's the rule in making a movie. So you were expecting to see this gun go off. But before that happens, all the guys in the office were laughing because she was demanding a raise after being petrified, and because he's chasing her around about this stupid script that she's still looking for. And the funny thing about it is, it's not funny, it's terrible. But just the ironic thing about this is he calls the guy that needs it, and he is like, oh yeah, he's going to be so angry at you. He's going to be so angry at me. And if he's angry at me, I'm angry at you. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And the guy's like, you know what? Don't even worry about that script. I know it's going to be hard to find. So just whenever you find it, I don't care. And then he lies and tells her that he's so angry. I couldn't get a word in edgewise because she's sitting there. She can't hear the conversation, but we can as the audience. Theatrical irony type situation. But after she gets chased into the women's restroom, nobody talks to her or says, are you okay? Except the oldest woman in the office. She's like another funny part of the movie when you see her. She asks her if she's okay. And that's all she gets. All the guys are in the office laughing at her like it was a joke. And it's not funny, but it's like ironic. The funny thing is, literally, historically, men being very hostile towards women in the workforce is really terrible. Their solution is women don't be there, don't make any money so we can have all the money. That's the answer to that. Their answer isn't to be better. And I had an argument, and I'm not even arguing. Like I said, I'm not arguing on Twitter anymore. I'm just blocking. That's the best thing to do on Twitter. Twitter has the best blocking situation to where you don't even see them in your life. They can't, it's honestly one of the greatest. I think Twitter blocking and Instagram blocking should have a baby and make a blocking situation where you can block everything that they make, any accounts that they make. But this is a side note. I had a debate because there was this little thing that someone posted talking about, oh, men are afraid of looking creepy. And it was this picture of this guy with a ring on his finger. And when I pointed it out, even though there was another person who pointed it out and got millions of likes and no pushback at all. I looked in the comments, pushback, not at all. I said it and people are like, it's just a stock photo. It's just a stock photo. Like they have no obligation to have a correct photo of what they're talking about in their article. But okay, go off, son. And I was just like, good, fine. Like, be upset, be afraid that you're going to be creepy and don't approach us. And some guy was like, oh, they don't care about being creepy. They're just going to do it. They're just going to do it. And then people are like, what about neurodivergent people? Like, you don't even know what that means. You don't even know how to spell it. You're just saying something that you saw on Reddit. Please stop. So I was just like, this goes and relates back to that, because it's like they think it's her fault because she's a woman. Oh, she wore too low of a skirt, even though she's very modest. She's at home and she dresses like a normal person, and then she's very, very modest at work. It's crazy. And I think the interesting, like I said, I think I'm looking too deep into this bad movie, but like I'm not going to say it's a good movie. I really am not going to say it's a good movie. But what I will say is I think everyone should watch it at least once, because like I said, the ending makes everything worth it. And I've never seen justice happen so swiftly and so good. It was so good on my soul. It felt so good it felt so good to see the justice served so quickly and so swiftly. But long story short about that whole Twitter beef thing about me talking about creepy guys, don't talk to people, and then people are like, well, creepy guys don't care. They care about being creepy, because if they didn't, they would just do whatever all the time, 100%. It would be a 100% rate, all right? So please don't play with me with that, and don't talk about other people's experiences when you know that you've never had to experience that because you're whatever XYZ, okay? But his assistant / secretary, he forces her to stay late at night, and she is so afraid. She calls out sick. And her mom's like, you better go to work. You can't afford to stay home. And she's Hispanic. This matters because she's Hispanic. Not that much money. And she has to go to work and be harassed. She has to be harassed and screamed at, and no one help her except the oldest lady in the building, who also has no power to stop him. And he says, you know what, don't even worry about it. Everything's okay. Like I said, there's a sympathetic character he plays. It's like he shuts it off and he's a different person. And I'm not sure if they're trying to imply that he has some sort of disorder. I'm not really interested in seeing the disorder person is the killer situation anymore. I'm kind of like over it. But again, it was a while ago. It was like 80 when Vampire's Kiss was out, but it's really old. And it shows, but it's not so bad to where it ruins your viewing time. But all throughout the movie, like I said, he's going home and being sucked by this vampire queen woman that doesn't exist. And all the while, he's going to a therapist that you start to notice doesn't exist either. And back to the secretary calling out sick, he calls and says, oh, everything's fine, don't worry about it. He goes to her home, and this is when she should have called the police, and I really do feel like she should have, but she listens to him and answers the door, and then gets ready to go to work because he apologized. He's very sympathetic, he's very empathetic, he's very nice. And then they get into a cab, and he's like, you're gonna find that thing, we're gonna do it together. And this is when he forces her to stay late at night, out of her job, not getting any money for it as well. And no, I will not believe anyone saying that him being bit by this vampire or it being a metaphor for anything. I don't believe. And if it is a metaphor, it's a metaphor for something that he has control over, even though it really makes it seem like he doesn't have control, and I don't like it. That's why I don't like the fact that he plays 3 different people, because in some instances it seems like he's really afraid and sad and upset that he's doing these things. But before that even happened, he was still being a jerk. Before he and you could say that the bat bit him when the bat came in, but like, it is understood to be a different way. So a sidebar from what I was talking about. The vampire queen, there's 3 different stories going on as well. There's him at work and the secretary. There's him at home with the vampire. And then there's him dealing with this situation and going to the therapist who's not real. And the vampire forces him to not go on a date. That he calls the girl that he went on a date with and was like, oh, come on, come back. I want to go out with you. So she gets stood up because he's forcing himself to stay into the house, and he breaks up his house and it looks like a mess. And he's just upset because he's like a thrall to this vampire person. And so he forces her to stay late, the secretary. And when she goes Also, I didn't mention when she goes and gets the bullets from her brother. While she's in the car, she's like, can I go to my brother? I have to give him some money. And he lets her do it. And she goes in there. I thought she was lying and she was going to call the cops. She still didn't call the cops. She's talking to her brother, talking about, I need bullets for this gun. And he's like, oh, you're just but a silly woman. Nah. You don't need bullets. You can get someone killed, da-da-da-da. And she's like, my boss is crazy. He should have just given her the bullets. This would have ended really quickly, but he says, here's blanks. Your job with that gun is to not kill anyone. Your job is to deter someone from killing you. So she's like, okay, give me the blanks. So she has the blanks. Literally, she finally finds the stupid script that he kept making her look for. And he says it's too late. And she's like scarred for life. And eventually crap ensues and he chases her all the way outside. And this is late at night. Nobody is here because he made her stay late. So nobody sees this. Nobody sees it. But it's from his perspective. So we don't know if people are there or not or what time it is. He just makes it seem like he doesn't understand life and he's like going through this metamorphosis when he's not. He was like this. He was a jerk before he got quote unquote bit. He is a jerk after. He's the same person. I hate when they try to make it seem like these people, these men specifically in these movies, are, especially when the representation of who did this to him is a woman, making it seem like it's the world's fault but his own. There's no accountability, even though like there's this wave of guys trying to talk about how there's no accountability for women. Women have been taking nothing but accountability since the dawn of time. We've been taking accountability. We are the Eve every time, eating the apple, making everybody feel pain or whatever, having legitimately like just the whole situation. I just can't. So anywho, he literally says that he's going to rape her at the end of that, at the end of the chase. He said he's going to rape her because she's like scared for her life. He said, if you don't kill me, I'm going to rape you. So she shoots the ground. He's upset that she's not killing him. So he bites her neck and she passes out. It does not show anything else other than that. For the most part, he fondles her, but there's no penetration, even though that is still sexual assault that he did to her. He admits later down the line to his fake therapist that he raped and killed someone. And the person that he killed is he went back to the place where it's funny if it wasn't so scary and sad, but he goes back to that place that looks like a warehouse, but it's a club. And he sees a woman and he bites her neck. And legitimately just like kills her there and runs out, and everybody just thinks it's normal because they're on Quaaludes, they're dancing, they're drunk, it's like dark. So he goes to his therapist and he's got a big old piece of wood and he's on the street pretending to be at the therapist, and he has a full mental breakdown. And no one is talking to him on the street. Everyone's avoiding him because it's gross. He's got blood on him. He's got a big stick talking about, I'm a vampire, kill me. And he goes to the therapist and the therapist says, you know what? That's when you realize that the therapist isn't real, because she hasn't really been showing much concern. She was showing a little bit concern in the beginning, but she wasn't showing much concern for what he has been saying. If you've been listening to what he's talking about, it gets crazier and it's just insane. So the fake therapist says that there's a woman just for him, and it's a woman that he made in his mind that he has, and he takes her home. Fake woman, not real. Literally, none of these people are real. And it's like, why would a therapist tell you about another person that they're seeing? He's like, oh, the person that I'm seeing next has the exact same thing that you have, and I think you would be great. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's super insane. Have you guys seen Love Without Borders? Those matchmakers are garbage. Every matchmaker is garbage except like one of the matchmakers. But all of these matchmakers who put these people together are putting their opposites together, and opposites don't necessarily attract, and it's depending on what the opposite is. If you are asking for someone who is conservative and they give you someone who's ready to roll around in the bed instantly, I think that is setting people up for failure, and you need to give them their money back, you scum. I really want to be a matchmaker because I really do feel like I could do a better job than that, and I think if they're getting paid, I feel like I should be getting paid too. But anyway, back to the movie, back to Vampire's Kiss. He's home. The house looks a wreck because it still hasn't been cleaned from when that happened. He hasn't been going to work. His secretary is at home in bed because she has just been sexually assaulted. And the brother asks her what happened. And this is before he goes home, by the way. He comes home to his house and they're sitting in a car. and literally he tells her to point him out. And she's like, there he is. So they go to his house. He goes inside after him. And Nicolas Cage's character is talking to the girl like, of course, even in your sick dream, you gotta call the girl out of her name and say she's nothing but trouble or something. Legitimately. It's like, it's literally you. Like, it's literally you. So he goes under his couch once again. He's been living under his couch like it was a coffin. He keeps opening it and closing it like it's a coffin. It's really gross. And it's funny because he goes to sleep at night, and you'd think that he would go to sleep during the day. But I don't know. It's just like funny. It's like really funny. If it weren't so scary and sad, like I said. So boyfriend's in his house and he's looking around like it looks crazy. He's not even asking the questions like, what happened here, man? Or what did you do this to my sister? He's not even asking who it is. He's like, okay, she told me who it was. He's got a crowbar. He's ready to fight this dude. And funny enough, Nicolas Cage's character has this wooden stick that I was talking about earlier that he was thrashing at people to kill him. It's basically like a stake. And he has it on his heart, and then the brother literally takes it and sticks it in his chest and runs out and leaves him there. And then the credits play. Like, he died thinking that he was a vampire and someone kills him in the vampire way. That is like the craziest movie ever. That's the quick bit of Vampire's Kiss. That was crazy. He literally ate a cockroach. If I remember to put it in, I will. But like, what on earth? Can you believe that? Like, that's the end. I don't recommend you watch it, but I feel like everyone should experience that movie once, and especially since the rapists, and he admits to being a rapist. It doesn't show it, but he gets killed swiftly, very quickly, and justice is served. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm eating lumpia. But I actually thought the way that this movie was made, that it was meant to be camp for real. Like, it wasn't meant to be taken seriously at all. Specifically because looking back at Nicolas Cage's character, his name is Peter Lowe. That's kind of like a double entendre. So yeah, just take this whole movie with like the ocean's worth of salt. Fun facts about this movie. Ben Stiller's older sister, Amy Stiller, is in this movie. And you'll never guess in a billion years who's in this movie. And from the worst show on television next to Friends, Frasier. He's one of the main characters of Frasier. I'll let you figure it out. If you're going to watch this movie, then that can be the thing that drives you through it, because it's terrible. It's awful. I would say it's 0 out of 10, but it would insult the scale to even put it at anything, to be honest. Like, being a fairly honest review of the movie, yeah, it's a 0. It's a 0. I said it was a 3. I said it was a 3 the first time I watched it, but it's a 3 if they were wanting it to be camp, which anyone's going to admit to the thing that's going to, not make them look as horrible. Or it's a 0 if they want it to be taken seriously. At all. Like, camp still requires you to be, have some sort of understanding of the situation. This movie feels like there are parts missing. It's jarring. We cannot tell or distinguish between, is Nicolas Cage's character pretending to be mean? Is he a jerk, or is he actually suffering from mental illness? We cannot distinguish that. And that's why I think this movie is 0 to 10. Subscribe, like, share. If you want me to talk about anything else, please let me know in the comment section. I stream on Twitch, The Princess of Darkness, _ between all those words. I'm on TikTok. Please subscribe to my TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. Yeah, I'm done.